Howdy folks, welcome to Brain Rotters. If you were a fan of Ghostbusters, the original series, then you're going to love all the Easter eggs and references that you missed in Ghostbusters Afterlife. Spoilers ahead, stay with me. Check this out. The way Egon dies is the same way that Sigourney Weaver's character gets possessed in the first one, with the hands reaching out from the recliner and pushing her into another room. Except Egon died of a heart attack from the situation before he could be possessed. Fast forward to when Phoebe and her family are doing cross-country trip to Somerville. A very brief shot sees the family car drive past a shack called the Little Ghost Town, which foreshadows the family to be heading to a little ghost town. Before they enter Egon's house, Finn Wolfhard's character reads off a Bible verse from Revelation 6:12, the same Bible verse that we see tattooed on Ray Stantz's arm later in the movie, and the same Bible verse that the original Ghostbusters used to convince the mayor of New York that the world was going to end biblically. Speaking of Finn Wolfhard, bonus Easter egg is that for Stranger Things, he and his pals in the series dressed up as the Ghostbusters. At Egon's house inside, the first thing I noticed was the symmetrical stacking of books that was in the corner. If you remember, Egon noted in the first Ghostbusters movie that was how you knew there was a ghostly presence anywhere. Of course, we come to find out that Egon's ghost resided still at the family house. Later, we see Phoebe poking around and finds a small statue of the demon dog from the first one. Of course, enter Janine Potts, who played the secretary for the Ghostbusters in both original movies. An interesting thing she said was that she regarded Egon as someone who couldn't keep the power on. Now, Ghostbusters fans would remember the scene in which Egon and the rest of the Ghostbusters failed to keep the power on of the little storage unit that housed all their Ghostbuster traps, housed all their ghosts, and that failure to keep it on is what sent all the ghosts out into the city in the original movie, a scene that Janine was a part of. After the first earthquake, Phoebe finds Spangler's gadget that he used to detect ghosts, and that is used throughout the full film. Throughout Egon's laboratory in that basement he had, there were quite a few Easter eggs. One of them was bringing back the firehouse pole. The other was on a shelf in which you can see the pink slime from Ghostbusters 2. Cujo and Chucky are both movies played by Paul Rudd's character to kids. Both of these movies are actually classic 80s made films, paying homage to the fact that this movie is born out of a classic 80s made franchise. To get the proton pack to turn on, Phoebe instructs Podcast to switch me on, which is something that the Ghostbusters said to the other guys when getting them to turn on their proton packs. You can see that Podcast wears Ray Stantz's eye specs from the original movies. Muncher is the first ghost that we actually see in the film, and the first ghost that Phoebe traps. Just like in the original Ghostbusters, Slimer, who resembles Muncher in almost every way, was the first ghost that the Ghostbusters actually saw and trapped. The way in which each group initially encounters Muncher is the same way too. They catch him eating something. Throughout the film, and even up to Muncher being found out, we also see the endoplasmic slime that the ghosts leave back from the original series leave behind also. It's criminal that it's taken me this long to get to this Easter egg, but the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man comes back from the original movie in the form of tiny little Stay Puft Marshmallow Men. Hey, you made it this far, you might as well subscribe if you're new, as well as hitting that bell for notifications so you don't miss another video just like this one. The Terminator thumbs up scene is recreated by this little Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which is a small little Easter egg. When Phoebe first encounters Spangler's outfit, she sees a Crunch Bar wrapper in there. In the original series, we see Venkman giving Egon the Crunch Bar. Later, keeping on with the sweets, we see the Twinkie in the car's glove compartment. Remember, Egon used a Twinkie in the first movie to describe what was going to happen if the power of the storage unit was to be turned off. The cop says the classic, the iconic, "Who you gonna call?" line. Halfway through the film, Phoebe calls Ray Stantz, who is still working at his shop that he opened in Ghostbusters 2, Ray's Occult Books. When the crew went into the mountain, you can see that Egon set up 4 proton packs to stop the ghosts from leaving the Gozer death pit, to cross the streams to get them to stop. Egon learning that was what stopped Gozer in the first place, and he set it up as so. It's just really cool to see. The demon dogs, along with Gozer, the gatekeeper, the keymaster, every main antagonist from the first film makes a comeback in this one. I mean, even down to the book that they learn of Gozer and the gatekeeper, and every antagonist is the same book that they learn of the same things in the movie. When the kids find their mom possessed in the chair, she says, "There is no mom, only Zool," which is exactly word for word what Sigourney said while possessed by Zool in the first film, except for the mom part, of course. What's a great detail is that when Zool sees Spangler's ghost detector, Zool flees in fear because it remembers how the Ghostbusters essentially annihilated it in the first movie, blowing up the top of the apartment building Thanksgiving, which is an event that is referenced countless of times throughout this new film. When Zool goes to meet up with Paul Rudd in the film, you can see that it dons the same shiny gold dress that Zool wears while possessing Sigourney in the first film. When the team goes to suit up, Podcast can be seen wearing the same metallic head scanner that Egon put on the Keymaster in the original movie. When the Gatekeeper and Keymaster become dogs, you can see that the stairs and every part of Gozer's throne room is the same setup from the original movie when Gozer arrives. When all the ghosts are released on the town, the first one we see show up in the town is the same zombie that we saw the first one to show up in New York City in the taxi cab in the original movie. This goes without saying that the 4 original Ghostbusters make an appearance in this film, and I'd like to add that I absolutely love the way they honored Harold Ramis, who played Egon and unfortunately passed in 2014. The way they honored him was really something special. Seriously, it really was. Ray Stantz does his signature thing where before the Ghostbusters zap the ghosts, he requests the ghosts, the demons, to leave this world, to depart from this world. Of course, both times it didn't work, but a really cool Easter egg. When Venkman is talking to Gozer, he tells her about how they could have made it work romantically. You know, of course, you'll remember that Venkman got a little intimate with Gozer in the first one, and that's what he's referencing there. When Gozer is defeated, the way that the demon dogs solidify, become breakable, is the same thing that happens in the first one. To cap it off, we get the classic Ghostbusters theme song to close out the film. Lastly, we got 2 post-credit scenes to break down. The first one, of course, we see the return of Sigourney Weaver as her character of Dana, and the pair are reenacting the original scene where we are introduced to Venkman in Ghostbusters 1. Venkman even references the fact that he used to shock the men, which he did in the scene we met him in. And the final post-credit scene saw Janine and Winston reflecting on their glory days working in the Ghostbusters. We got to see the firehouse that was referenced by Ray earlier in the film, even though Ray said it's a Starbucks now, except the post-credit scene sees that it's not. But anyway, we see the power go on the storage unit, setting up the fact that there are still ghosts in the unit in the basement of the firehouse, setting up the idea that there could be another Ghostbusters film. However, I think this one is such a good culmination and bookend to the franchise. There's really no need to set it up for another one because this one left off on such a high note. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate it. What did you think of Ghostbusters Afterlife? What references and Easter eggs did you miss? What did I miss? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. We're growing every single day. Thank you so much. Take care.